Thank you so much for joining us today. I will now pass you across to Claudio. My name is Danusia Jolliffe. I'm the Marketing Customer Services Director here at T-Vision. I'll be keeping an eye on any questions that come in. Please do ask us loads of questions. I can envisage quite a few coming through. If you pop them into the question box within the functionality on GoToWebinar, I will pass those along to Claudio at the appropriate time. Thank you so much. Over to you, Claudio.
Hi, afternoon everyone. Welcome to this webinar. So today we're going to talk about the new sales, the new price experience. So really just half an hour to give you a quick overview of what it is and what you need to be doing next for the new functionality. So really just going to have a quick look at just a few slides to set the scene, a quick look at what the new model is, how it works, next steps, what you can do to get acquainted with the new model, and then I'll show you the software so you can ask questions and have a look at what it actually does in practice. So the new model is a new way of managing sales prices and purchase prices. It only applies to those that are on SaaS, and those on SaaS that haven't gone live recently, because all our clients that have gone live recently, we've already set this up. So this will be people who went live maybe 6 months ago or before, who are using the older model. Microsoft have changed this to this new model, which unfortunately we're all being forced to move to by wave 1 of this year. So by June-ish, June, July perhaps of this year, with the wave update of wave 1, Microsoft will be switching off the old model and switching on the new model. The good news is that I think it's better in lots of ways. It gives us a bit more flexibility, and it works a bit more in line with how people think of pricing. So really it's around price lists, which I'll show you in a second, and it replaces sales prices and discounts and purchase prices and discounts. So like I said, the new model is based on price lists. So price list really is like, think of a header with some details about what that price list is about, and then the lines underneath are all the prices that relate to that price list. So you could have a price list per customer per year, or per group of customers, per discounts, and so on. It'll be more, it'll be clearer when I show you. But it'll make it easier to manage prices, whereas in the past, all your prices were effectively just one long list of these criteria, this price, this start and end date. Now, if you want, you can kind of subdivide it so that if you want to go and look at maybe a customer special prices, you know you've got a price list set up for that, and you can see them there immediately rather than having to route around for them. So the visibility is a bit easier. Pricing and discounts are all in one place. Again, that makes it a bit easier to find and to investigate where prices have come from. And I think also everything in one place is extended to resources, resource groups, and GL accounts. So in the past, it wasn't that easy to set up prices against resources and GL accounts, but now they're all part of the same functionality, so that as well as we might be saying a customer gets this special price on this particular product, they might get a discount on this delivery charge if they're part of this group. So again, bring it all into one place. And then the fact that we can group things into price lists, we can also switch price lists on and off really easily. So there's a status on each price list. So there's draft as you're planning it, there's active, and then if you want to switch it off either permanently or temporarily, there's an inactive, which just says don't apply these prices at all because, I don't know, we're reviewing them or they're just at the end of their life. For those that are on the old model moving to the new model, there is an automatic migration process, and that's what I'm going to show you in a second. So it takes all the current prices and turns those automatically into new price lists. That's really neat and tidy, so you don't have to do anything significant to move over to the new model. It's just about learning how the new model works and how you want to use the pricing, how you're going to use the price lists. Like I said at the very beginning, the model is all about managing the prices. Once we've got our prices in the software and they're active, the way they apply on purchase transactions, sales transactions is exactly the same as it does now. So you'll be able to recognize the fact that a price has a start and end date, as a variant code, as an item, a discount, etc. All that logic, when it applies to a sales line, so I'm placing a sales order, is exactly the same as it is now. So really, this is just about managing the prices from an admin point of view. So before we get into the actual demo, I thought about what we would consider to be the next steps post today's webinar. There is a Freshdesk article that talks about everything I'm talking about today. We'll make these slides available so you can link into it if you can't find it on Freshdesk. But what we really suggest you do is you take a copy of your live company, you migrate to the new model using the steps I'm going to show you in a second, and then just really kind of play around with it, try it out, and understand, first of all, that it works, so there's no issue about it not working, but also, how do you think you'll get the best out of this idea of price lists? If you really don't want to make any changes at all, you can actually just have one price list with every single price in it, which mimics pretty much 100% the way it works now. Or if you want to make better use of it, I think you'll be creating different price lists for different types of prices, different dates, different currencies potentially, and so on. Also, we've asked Jack on our support desk to get in touch with everyone just to make sure that you aren't blocked with anything you're trying to do, and that you have a timetable for when you're going to be testing this and getting this up and running, ideally before the wave 1 update this year forces you to, so we don't have to do it at the last minute, which is never a good idea. So in terms of the software itself, so I'm going to show you how to migrate to the new price experience, and then I'm going to put a few price lists through, show you how they work, show you how you search for a price, and then on the sales order, the fact that from that point of view, nothing really has changed, placing an order for a product and it finding the right price and the right discount. So bear with me a second, I'll just move over to Bevica. So here I'm on a version of Bevica that has the old price experience. And just to prove that, I'll just go to my item list. And you'll all recognize the sales prices, the discounts, the overview, which is the old model. I'll come back to this once I've done the data migration. You'll see that we'll be looking at the same prices, but a different screen, a different layout. So when we make the change to the new model, you can do it on a per company basis. So that's what lets you take a copy of your live company, try it out without actually having to change it in your live company. And so, for example, just to show that, or to prove that, if I come up here and do, if I look for price lists, oops, hang on a second.
Oh, just to say, I think our camera might have glitched because me and Claudia have been very stationary for a little while, but we are still here. So yeah, ignore the cover just for now.
If I click on sales price list, which is the new model, you get a message saying this feature is not enabled yet. So that will be in each company that you haven't enabled the new model, you'll see this message. So what do we do to set it up and make it work? So we search for feature management. And in the feature management, we search for price experience, new sales price experience. And once you click on the line, you get a data update option. And what this will do is it'll take all your current pricing and migrate it into the new model. If I click on schedule, you get asked if you want to create one default price list with all the prices in it. If you untick this, it will try and create multiple price lists for different types of prices that it finds. So we found that creating multiple price lists is a better way of doing it. But because you have the option of creating multiple companies when you're testing, try it out both ways to see which way works for you best. So I'm going to create multiple price lists. I'm going to accept the data update. I'm going to go next. And then I'm not going to run it in the background because I don't have many prices that it should take hours. It should take a matter of seconds. And do update. So it'll just run through. And you'll see now that on the line here it says completed, and that's completed for this company. If I went into another company, it might say it's still pending or waiting an update because I have to do it per company. So that's really the data migration done. It's all done automatically in the background for us. So now if I go to price lists, sales price lists, so you'll see we've created purchase and sales price lists. These are the price lists that it's created. It's important to note here that once I've created the price list and migrated across, I can't go backwards. So if you do this in live, you can only do it once in live. You can't go back to the old model if you find there's a mistake or something you didn't want to do. So this is what it's done. It's created multiple price lists, trying to create them for groups of prices that it's found. So if I go into this one, for example, number 2.
And how accurate are these groups of prices that it's creating? Generally quite good?
Yeah, they will be, because they're taking the criteria that it finds on the old prices, things like, is it for a customer, is it for a group of customers, is it for a particular date, is it inclusive of that, exclusive of that, and then grouping those and putting prices within each of those groups. So this one, you'll see it's creating a price list for an individual customer. It's active. If I scroll down, in this case, it's only found one particular price for that particular customer. Let's scroll across, see if there's some more. This one's a secondary customer and found more prices. This one is probably a bit more useful. So here it's for a customer price group called the London group. And then these are the line details, and these should exactly match what was in the old model. So I'll show you how to create price lists. And like I said, you can create them in a number of ways. I'll start off doing the simplest way. So I'm going to get going to give me a price list number. I'm going to decide that this is a price list for a group, the bars group, and the start and end date is going to be 1/01/24, beginning of this year to the end of this year. So by setting these fields on the header, I'm effectively creating the defaults for all the lines I'm now creating. So I'm going to leave the currency code blank. It's for the entirety of this year, and it's for the bars customer group. And now I can start putting my products in. Duty free and duty free. And the unit of measure works exactly the same as it does now, where blank means base, or you can specify bottles or cases or any unit of measure. And then here I'm going to say the price is £8.75 for that one and £9 for that one. So this is kind of the quickest and easiest way of doing it. So on the header, I've specified that the prices I'm entering are only for this customer price group of the bars. So really all I need to put in on the lines is the product and the price, because the data is being taken from the header and all the other details are taken from the header. There's nothing extra I need to enter. You'll see this option here called auto create duty prices. So in the old model, we would automatically add or remove duty from pricing when it came to the sales order. So we've replicated that in Bevica here on the new model as well. Works in a slightly different way. I think it's a more transparent way of working. So if I wanted these prices to also be calculated for the alternate variant or the alternate duty, if I tick that, when I validate or when I make these prices active, the software will automatically calculate the alternative duty price and create that as a real price that I can see on the list. So at the moment, this is a default price list, and to make them active so that they will appear and they will work on sales orders, I can set them to active. So that does a couple of checks, make sure that we aren't duplicating any prices, and if there are no issues, it sets the price list to active. And down here you can see that we've automatically created duty paid alternate duty prices for the two that I entered. So whereas in the past we did that automatically, now you have the choice if you want to specify that duty free, duty paid automatic calculation between the two. So this price now is, this price list is active, and the lines on it will be applied to sales orders if I want to. I can still work with this price list. So if, for example, I want to add a new line, I can just add extra lines as I want. I'll explain why it's red in a second. Let's say this is £11.25. So at this particular moment, because it's red, that price isn't active. It means that it's still checking to see whether it's a valid price that doesn't clash with any other price in the software. So to make that valid and active like all the others, you might have noticed that the verify lines option was ticked or has just appeared at the top. So if I tick that, it says, right, there's no issue with that, I'm perfectly happy. And now it's gone black and it's created the alternate duty one. If I show you what happens if it finds a duplicate, so if I copy the same product as the one above it, delete that. So let's say this is a kind of a mistake. And if now I verify lines, oh, it's replaced the duty calculation one that happened automatically to £11 rather than the calculated £11. So this is, if you like, a kind of a simple way of creating a price list where we are forcing all the lines to match whatever we've got on the header. But some people might like to be a bit more adventurous. So if I create a new price list, I'll show you another way of creating a price list. So again, details on the header the same. This time, I'm not really that interested in forcing the lines to be what's on the header of the price list. I want to populate all my lines automatically myself. So I'm just going to put the date in because I do want that to be copied across as a default, but I will be able to change it. And this time I'm going to tick allow updating defaults. So before I do that, if I click allow updating defaults, whereas before we had very few fields on the lines, on this one here, I have the option of changing more details on the lines that I had before. Actually, let me just change that to customer. So I will come down here. So here you can see that it's added some extra columns, but because I've ticked allow update defaults, if I want to, so let's say the first one is a customer price. So this will be the idea of a customer special price of £56. The second one, I can come here and say, actually, the second line in this price list is not a customer price list. Customer price, it's a special group price for the London group. In this case, for the same date, because I don't want to change that, could be the same product. And then the lines, I'm in charge of making sure that each line is the correct price for the details on the lines, and it's ignoring what's on the header. So some might find this a bit confusing because the header will say something and the lines will represent something different. but it might give you a bit more flexibility to create a price list that's not maybe a custom based around a customer or a group of customers. It may be based around just a date range, or a campaign where you've got lots of different combinations, but you still want to put them against one price list. Okay, so those really are kind of the two major ways you can create price lists. But the idea, if I come back to the list, is that a useful description, a useful whether they're active or inactive, will give you a good indication of which price list to look at if you're trying to maintain or search for prices. I'll just quickly go back to our items. And now if I go to prices and discounts, you'll see that the options are slightly different now. And when I click on sales prices, it's the same information, just displayed differently. So now it's telling me which price list each of these prices are on, and this is where this particular product appears as a price. So someone from the retail group, wholesale group, etc. And then from here, if I want to, I can open that particular price list and investigate more. Have a look.
Someone's asked a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have any of the Bevica clients already implemented this successfully?
Yes.
Or have it working?
So all the customers who've gone live in the last 3 or 4 months are all using this new model. We didn't think it was fair on them to get them up and running on the old one, and then 1st of January come and tell them we had to move to a new model. So yes, we do have customers using it. We are still making tweaks and changes as people come up with kind of real world examples. So if you do find something when you're testing, let us know and we can have a look at improving it, because we have made some improvements for Bevica on them. So yes, people are using it. Okay, so if we go back to price lists. So I showed you just prices, but there are also discounts. So they're all managed again on the same screen. You'll see here that there's a defines column, and there are 3 options in the defined column. There's price and discount, price, or just discount. So I'll show you that. So the one I did before was price and discount, but let's say here I wanted to create one just for discounts rather than prices. So you'll notice that when I change this to discount, the columns on the lines change. So now, rather than putting in prices, the software is just expecting me to put in discounts. And the same applies as before. I can specify on the header what type of discounts I want to add to this particular price list, and whether then I want to be able to change those on the lines if I want to. Oops, I just put up. There we go. And then as before, so this one I've told it I don't want to be able to change what the price, what the discounts on the lines are. I just want to be able to put in for the large accounts, whether it's, if a large account is buying a product and the product is part of the finished goods, then I want to give them a particular discount, so 5% discount.
So someone has asked, if you're leaving the variant code blank, does that assume that the line is duty free?
No, if it's an item, you need to specify duty free or duty paid. If it's a duty controlled item, you need to specify duty free or duty paid. On the discounts, you shouldn't need to specify the variant, although you can if you just want to apply a particular discount to either duty free or duty paid. Okay. So here I'm going to say item. Actually, no, what I'm going to say here is a resource. So this is one of the examples I talked about at the very beginning, where I can set up when a customer from this discount group is ordering and we charge them for a delivery, we can say, because you're part of that group, we're going to give you a 10% discount on that delivery. I think this was possible on the old model, but a lot more complicated to structure. You'd have had to go to a different place to do it. But here you can see you can do it all in the one place, so it's really kind of neat and tidy.
And all of these prices, does it affect the price API for websites? And would there be any changes needed as a result of these changes of price lists?
Not for the website, because as I said, this is just about managing your prices. With our web API and any other APIs we've created, we probably have some hooks into a particular price group or discount group or something to identify the prices we want on the website. So that hasn't changed. The structure hasn't really changed. This is just about how we manage the prices and get to that point where we're happy with what's on the lines and we want to set it from draft to active, so then they can be applied on sales orders.
Well, I've got a few more.
Go on.
Will we be adding configuration packages to support editing prices in bulk?
Yes, there is a config package already for it. Bear with me a second. Okay, config package. So we'll make this available so everyone can download it from the Fresh Desk. But it's in our data. It's in our current standard data migration templates. We have one there for price list lines, and there's a Fresh Desk article that explains how you can use this to set up brand new price lists. So effectively, you could export your price lists, muck about with your data, put new prices in, new dates, and then re-import them in either to existing price lists or create new price lists.
Now we've got another one, which is quite a long question, so I'm not sure whether, again, we can answer it now or maybe it needs to be taken offline. So when a new item is added in Bevica, is it easy to add, or how do you add to a price list on the item card?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that the whole question?
No. When you create a copy of an item, does the new item get added to any lists where the original item was? That's part 2.
Yes.
And then part 3, can you use filter on the line view? So in practice, you may only want to see duty paid, but will we need to have the duty free price input? So maybe that next bit, probably take it offline.
Okay, let's try and start at the beginning.
Okay, so the beginning was, when a new item is added in Bevica, is it easy to add, or how do you add to a price list from the item card?
Yep, so can you see here, I'm on a particular, let's go back a second. I'm on a particular item. I go to sales prices. And if I edit the list, this lets me amend a price on an existing price list. So I can change details on an existing price list if I want. I don't think it lets me add a brand new price because it wants to be added to a price list. So what you'd have to do is from here, you'd have to open up the price list and add that product to that price list and then verify it and close it. And then that's added the price to the product. What was the second question?
The creating a copy. So when you create a copy of an item, does a new item also get added to any lists where the original item was? Or would you have to go through that whole process again?
That's a good question. Let me have a quick look. I haven't actually tried this recently. Yep, it will do. It'll copy prices across. So as long as you have, when you do copy item, you have this ticked and or this ticked, it'll copy those across. The third question I didn't quite understand.
Yeah, so, sorry, can you use filter on the line view? For example, in practice, we may want to only see the duty paid, but we'll need to have a duty free price input, say on the all customer price.
So I'm assuming that's on the price list. Let's have a go. So if I go to a price list, just minimize that. So here you could say filter to this value or filter to the alternate duty if you wanted to, and then that would exclude or include whatever you wanted to say. Yes, you can filter the lines here.
Okay, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. So lots of people thinking about it, which is nice. So I know we've just run out of time, but the last thing I just wanted to show you was that all this hard work setting up price lists and making sure they're all active and aren't clashing with each other and so on. When we come to do a sales order, there's nothing that's changed. You literally just create and process the sales order as normal. Even to the extent that the little sidebar that tells you the number of available prices, so that works with the new model as well. So if you have multiple prices that potentially work for a product, you can swap prices really easily by using the navigation on the right hand side. Scroll down. Pick the product when it wakes up. So here you can see it's found a price and a discount. And if I scroll over on the right hand side, on my side, you'll see here that it tells me sales prices, how many it's potentially found for this particular combination of customer and product. In most cases, more than one. And here, if you want to, you can swap prices really easily. But this is again looking at the new price lists. Okay, that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the new model. Really, it's just to give you an idea of what's there, a starting point. Feel free to contact Jack or the Bevica team, and we can maybe talk through in a bit more detail if anyone wants. Are there any more questions just at the end?
No, not at the moment. I think we had a fair few for today. As you say, it's good that everyone's paying attention to the fact that this needs to happen fairly soon. And obviously, we're here to help if you do have any further questions. And Jack will be in touch with a copy of the slides, a link to the webinar on demand, and it'll also be on our website. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining today, and Claudia for presenting. And if you do have any questions, please do get in touch. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Bye-bye.